Okay, so welcome to this video. In this video, it's an introduction video to MayaStar. I'm going to go through all the functions very quickly, just to give you a rundown of what they do and why they're there and whatnot. Okay, so anyway, to start with MayaStar, with this latest update, MayaStar 4.0, it's quite a bit different than the original MayaStar, where the original MayaStar had separate templates that you had to open up and then import your clothes and mesh clothing and all that kind of stuff. And it was very tedious to try to keep track of all those different things. So in this MayaStar version, you can activate MayaStar just simply by clicking on Activate MayaStar. But before we start, I'm just starting in a typical scene. You can start with an empty scene if you want, or you can start with having your mesh clothes already in the scene. One thing you want to make sure of is you do not want a skeleton or an avatar in the scene when you activate MayaStar, because MayaStar is going to bring in its own skeleton, and if there's already a skeleton in the scene, it will interfere and it won't work right. So if you have already started rigging your clothes, you don't want to lose that rigging. What you could do before you bring in MayaStar is you could select your mesh clothing and then go into animations, skin, and go into your detach skin and make sure you have history. You don't want to. You want to keep the history. You don't want to delete the history, and then you just click detach. And what that will do is, even though the skin is no longer, or the mesh is no longer bound to the skeleton, it'll keep the skin cluster that has all your weighting history. So as long as you bind it to a new skeleton with the same names, all your weighting will be automatically there, so you don't have to start from scratch. So I'm just going to leave delete history on for now. Anyway, so we're going to be telling for starting off, and this doesn't have any weighting or anything to it, and we're going to activate MayaStar. So you come here up to MayaStar, and if you click the double line just above Activate MayaStar, you can tear it off, and so it stays open. Okay, so clicking Activate MayaStar activates MayaStar, and it brings in the avatar and everything you need, and boom, there it is. Sounds like a song I know. Anyway, now one of the things immediately underneath Activate MayaStar is this. So this is sort of a catch-all. I shouldn't say catch-all. If you're having problems exporting out of Maya, creating your DAE file, and you find Maya is freezing up or it's crashing, if you click on this right before you export, if you click this Remove MayaStar Not Skeleton, what that will do is it will remove everything that MayaStar brought into the scene, except for the skeleton. And of course it will leave your mesh clothing there. So if I click on it now, and boom, see, all that's left was my original mesh clothing and the skeleton. And that should remove any conflicts that you might have that might be causing your DAE export to freeze or to crash Maya. I'm going to Control Z, and after you export out, you can always hit Control Z to bring everything back the way it was so that you don't lose everything. One really important thing is never activate MayaStar twice in the same scene, because it will bring in a second skeleton and a second animated avatar and a second mesh and all this other stuff, and it'll just become a big mess. So make sure you Control Z backwards if you want to get everything back after you removed MayaStar. So this basically does what this says. It removes MayaStar except the skeleton. I said not the skeleton because except was a bit too long, and it made this a lot wider. So anyway, so okay, so next button down is meter centimeter avatar size. What this does is, and you can tear it off again so it stays open, is all of the files that we've been given by Linden Lab, all their OBJs, all of the skeletons, um, all the files we've gotten from Linden Lab, at least for Maya. I don't know about Blender and other um, formats if they change that or not. Um, but I know whenever I export an OBJ shape out of Second Life directly, it always comes into the same scale that all the other files that Linden Lab has provided, which is this really tiny little avatar. And I didn't even not know this until one of my testers um, um, had pointed it out, that the avatar in Second Life is actually 100 times larger than any of the files that Linden Lab has provided. Um, so this avatar right here is actually very, very tiny. It's about the size of a salt shaker compared to the real avatar size. And so I created this, this meter centimeter avatar size, so that when you click on the meter, the default is centimeter. Um, um, is what I call centimeter size, this really tiny little avatar. If you click on meter, you see the avatar disappears, but it really didn't disappear. It just got huge. It's 100 times larger. And this is actually the size of the avatar in Second Life. Um, um, but you'll notice that the mesh clothing down here is still very tiny. So if this was the case where you wanted to work with the meter, there's a lot of good reasons for working with the meter instead of the centimeter. Soft select works a lot better because the vertices are not so close together. A lot of the tools are like that. A lot of tools work a lot better on something larger, and especially if you're going to be zooming into a very tight spot in your mesh clothing. If it's 100 times bigger, you'll be able to zoom in and move the camera a lot easier, a lot faster, a lot better if the avatar is larger. But if you're used to using the smaller avatar and you don't want to use the meter size avatar, that's perfectly fine too. And you can easily switch back and forth between the two. See, I can just click on centimeter. Boom. She's back to the way she was. Meter, centimeter. If I click on it twice, you just get a little error down here that tells you you're already in centimeter size. So that's the difference between meter and centimeter size. You can flip back and forth very easily just by clicking those two. When you click meter size, it actually creates a locator called avatar skeleton and parents the skeleton to the locator, and then makes the locator 100 times bigger. And that's why you get in the channel box where this says 100 times larger. And then when you click back to centimeter, it goes back to the original, which is, this is what most people are used to seeing, is the skeleton there. So meter, and then it just simply parented that. Let's go back to centimeter. Okay, so along with the meter centimeter thing is, you'll probably notice here we got some nice layers. That's for showing and hiding the avatar. That's for showing and hiding the skeleton, which is very convenient a lot of times. This we'll get to a little bit later. This is a different mesh avatar for the auto resizing, which is way down here at the bottom, so we'll get to that later. And this is a different skeleton, a second skeleton for interactive skin bind, so that you actually bind your skeleton or your mesh to this skeleton first for the interactive skin bind, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Okay, so let's bring back the avatar and we'll continue on. Let's see. So the next thing here down says for earlier versions of Maya, and this is for Maya 2009 and earlier versions. Anything if you have 2010 and newer, you don't really have to worry about this section. But 2009 and earlier have some special issues that they have to deal with, and that I have to deal with because I have Maya 8.0. Let's see, and this doesn't do anything. This is just letting people know this is for Maya 2009 and earlier versions only. This sets the skeleton for Maya 2009. and earlier. The big difference between 2009 and older, 2009 and earlier versions and 2009 and more recent versions is a lot of this is the rotation on the collision bones. If you come down here to chest, and the default skeleton that comes in is set for the newer versions of Maya, 2010 and newer. That's the default when you first open up MayaStar. You can change that, and I'll go over that a little bit later. But let's go. We picked the chest bone, and I want to show you the difference. And we go to, I'm going to click on Attribute Editor, and it just took a while for it to open up. And the collision bones, a lot of them in Second Life have these odd rotations on them, and that's actually been a very large problem because things were not exporting out properly out of MayaStar before, and people were letting me know that their mesh was being deformed. Their arms were looking like spaghetti, for long sleeves and stuff, and that was because they were rotating. The collision bones in Second Life have a rotation on them, and I tried setting those same rotations to the skeleton, and it didn't work. And it was actually one of my probably top rated, the tester that spent the most number of hours, Mark Threre, he figured this out. He figured, let me move this over here a little bit. He figured out that if we change the joint orientation to, that's joint damping. Where's joint orientation? There it is. I just went too far. If you set it in the joint orientation instead of putting it underneath the actual bone rotating, it worked for newer versions of Maya, 2010 and newer. They would come in just fine. So that solved the joint rotation problem for 2010 and newer versions of Maya. Don't have to worry about doing what I call the opposite bones rotation. So that fixes that. Now, for 2009 and older versions or earlier versions of Maya, when you click on this, it changes. It sets all the rotations to 0. And that's only really if you're going to be using if you're using Maya 2009 and older versions. If you're going to be using the Autodesk FBX plugin exporter, the one that says MayaFBX.mll in your plugin manager, you can use the Open Collada if you're using one of those newer versions. And then you don't have to worry about the bone rotations. You can actually use this one, which is the default, that has the rotations on it. So the only bad thing about using the open or Collada Maya plugin, the open source, is it doesn't know the bone names. It makes a perfect DAE file, and it's a great DAE file. It's much shorter. It uploads much faster, but it doesn't have the bone names. But it's very easily fixed, and that's why I added this little thing in here, that gets the bone names of the skin cluster, and then you simply just copy and paste it into your DAE file. It takes you about 30 seconds. But that's going to be a whole nother video. So I just wanted to very briefly explain what's going on. This sets the skeleton to 2009 and earlier with 0 rotations on the collision bones. This actually rotates the collision bones to the SL rotations, so you can actually see what your mesh would look like. This does this resets the bones to 0, and then this resets the bones to the opposite. So this is for the process of what I call the opposite bone rotation process that we had to do before Mark Threre had figured out the joint orientation thing. like I said, these negative bone rotations and these odd scales that the collision bones have on them have been a big nightmare and big reason why um, we had it that it's just been a nightmare. It's just caused nothing but problems, and why different versions of Maya have to use different skeletons or different ways of exporting. And like I said, I'll be going over that in another video. This is just a brief video. Kind of brief. Okay. Okay, the next thing that we have is we have the female and male avatar appearance editors. These are just like the sliders in Second Life. I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to get rid of that mesh clothing so you can see it a little bit easier. Okay, so this is the avatar. You can turn the avatar into male just by clicking male and female, or female back and forth. This button gives you the Second Life default shape. This is the shape that you get when you create a brand new shape in Second Life and wear it for the first time, commonly referred to as Ruth. And it's actually different than the mesh that Linden Lab provides, which is this one. And you'll notice a difference. Her head gets smaller, her neck gets thinner, her arms get longer, her butt actually gets smaller. You know, her eyes get change position slightly. I guess they figured her eyes were too close together. It's a very subtle change, and you can go back and forth just between the two. So this is actually the shape of the avatar in Second Life, the default shape. You have all the sliders that you have in Second Life, and these tabs are the different sections. You'll notice that it's labeled height, and you see this number next to it, 53. That's simply to let you know what the default setting for the SL avatar shape is. So you can change the height by simply moving that, and it changes the height. You can hit, and you see the numbers change. You can click default, and it goes back to the original setting, which is 53 when you click down here. And even though you notice that the number didn't change, you can click apply slider over here, and you can click back and forth between the two. Applies all the sliders, and reset all resets all the sliders. This reset all basically does the same thing as SL default avatar shape. Basically, so you have all the different sliders, like I said, that are all in the different places, the same sections that are in the avatar appearance editor in Second Life. Let's see, you have this last tab down here, which is the sizes, and I have a little thing, this is how they look in Second Life. This is not how they look when you export them out as OBJs, and that will be a whole nother video that I'll explain the differences. But these are actually how they look. These are the 5 standard sizes. See, just one button, and you easily click back and forth between the two. And if you go to bind pose, you notice the shape changes. That's because when you click the bind pose, the skeleton actually moves back to the default positions and lengths, bone lengths, which are different than they are in Second Life when you wear that shape of the large avatar. And so this is, when you click bind pose, this is actually the shape that you get when you export your OBJ using, from any of the viewers. If you've ever exported the 5 standard sizes as OBJ files. And then I have a little note down here that explains a little bit more. So, okay, so that's female, and then you can always go back to the mesh default. And if you click on male, another window opens, the first one disappears, and now you have a male avatar. Eventually I'm going to write a little mouse script that changes his skin so he's not wearing this nice little white bikini top. But you can flip back and forth. Just know that anytime you flip, you click one of those, or you open and shut this window, it's going to, while the avatar will maintain its settings, this number will disappear, and and they only take effect after you let go of the mouse. And you can punch in the numbers if you want manually and hit enter. You know, so it gets really handy to bounce back and forth, like say if you're adjusting the weights, to be able to go to the large size, the default size, and bounce back and forth while you're rigging. That's why these buttons are here. Okay, so that's the appearance. Let's see, animation and poses. This is something new I added. I figured you'd want to see your mesh clothing moving. Let's just put that back to there we go. So let's do like female walk, and you hit play, and now it's moving. So if I had a rigged mesh piece of clothing and you wanted to see how your mesh was moving while the avatar moves, you can now see what it looks like. Click it again and you can go run. You know, you can do a female sit. I mean, there's a bunch of different ones. You know, here just to sort of give you the just to allow you to be able to see your mesh moving. These are different poses. This is standard T pose, A pose. You can actually make any pose you want. The bind pose without even, you don't even have to detach your mesh clothing. You just come down here to custom, create bind pose. And now if we were, you know, had her walking and then we went to bind pose, just clicking bind pose, goes to the A pose. That's now the default bind pose. So if we were in the editing appearance menu and we were at that and you click, oops, sorry, and you click bind pose, it goes back to there. We can get the T pose back by simply clicking T pose. Sometimes you have to click it twice. I don't know why. So if you click it once and it doesn't do it, click it a second time, and then we can go back to create bind pose. And now that is our bind pose. Now the bind pose, go to bind pose here, doesn't work quite the same as when you go into skin and go to bind pose, because if you go to skin and bind pose, you have to select a bone first. But I wrote a nice little mouse script that selects the M pelvis bone for you so that you don't have to do that. You can just click go to bind pose. Okay, so that's a quick rundown on the animations. Let's see. Collision bone select selects all the bones in the collision bones in the skeleton, just with one click. So let me bring back my mesh clothing. Okay, so all you have to do is select your mesh clothing, click collision bone select, and now you have your mesh clothing and the bones select, the collision bones. Come down here to smooth bind, bind skin. Like I said, I'm going to do another video showing this much more slowly so that you have all the settings. But now we've just bound, our mesh is rigged now, ready to get the weights. You can also rig normal rigs, not fitted mesh. Just instead of clicking collision bones, you just click normal bone select. Let me deselect so that it just selects them. So it selects just all the normal bones, which are the ones with a little M in front of them. And this just changes between the different modes, you know, vertex and back to object mode. F9 is vertex mode. So if you were like in an edge mode or something, or you were coming up with edge mode for some reason and you wanted vertex mode, you can just click that one. And these are the F keys on your keyboard for them. Freeze transformation, delete history. I try to put all the commands that you normally use when rigging into one menu so you don't have to go hunting around and switching to different between animation and polygon and all that kind of stuff. Let's see, interactive skin bind. I can't show you this because I only have Maya 8.0, but I tried to make this step by step. This switches to the interactive skin bind skeleton. And let me close MayaStar here and go into object mode and come back here to channel box. And I'm going to turn off the mesh. It's taken a while. Maya decides, once in a while, Maya decides it's going to take a minute before it actually does what I click on it. So we're showing our skeleton and we hit that. So if you go interactive skin bind skeleton, what it does is it hides the real skeleton and brings up this interactive skeleton for you to rig to. And then just shows you step by step what to do. You know, step 1, click here. Step 2, select interactive skeleton bones because it's a separate skeleton. So you would select your mesh clothing. I'm going to detach the skin from there. Detach skin. So there's no skin cluster. And then we select the collision bones. So this is selecting just the collision bones in the interactive skin. The collision bones have been put to the same places that they are in where your normal M bones are. It's the only way I could get the interactive skin bind to work, and I had to change the scales and this and that so that they allowed the capsules to work. And then so after you do your interactive skin bind and you're ready to go back to the regular skeleton, all you have to do is select your mesh and click detach skin with history. This does the with history automatically, so it doesn't matter what the setting is. So you don't have to go in and go skin, detach skin, and select history. It's right there. So that detaches your skin, so that your mesh is no longer rigged to this skeleton, and then you can reset default skeleton to 2010 and newer. 2011 and newer because interactive skin bind started with 2011. There was no interactive skin bind before 2011. So you click that, and that resets the skeleton to 2010 and newer. And I see a problem. It should have turned this skeleton back on and hidden this one. I'm going to have to fix that. Okay. Just found a bug. Alrighty. Okay, so the next is collision bone select for the normal bones. So you'd have your mesh with the history still in there, and you'd select collision bones, and then you'd smooth bind, and then you'd bind the skin, you know, and then after you smooth bind, you would adjust the weights, you know, so you get your mesh the way you wanted it, and then you would select your mesh again, select normal bone select, because you have to add the bones to the skin cluster. Then all DAE files have to have all the normal bones in the skin cluster, otherwise it won't upload to Second Life. So you would have add to skin cluster. These are the settings. Like I said, I'm going to do another video that shows this more. And now your DAE is ready for export. Okay, so this is the interactive skin bind. Like I said, it's only for 2011 and newer versions of Maya. Okay, so let's bring back that, take that away. Okay, on with more. Okay, interactive skin bind, smooth bind. You already saw that. That goes to the smooth bind. Detach skin. This is just a regular detach. Whatever settings you normally have, it will have on there. It's not a detach with history, so it won't set the settings for you. Skin weight tools, these are just your average skin weight tools that are also in Second Life. Smooth bind, I just decided to put that in there in case you wanted just to have this window open. Detach skin, same as this detached skin. Then you got your paint skin weights tools. These are all the default that come with Maya. With Maya, they're not ones that I created. I just put them in here because it's easier to find. Here's the custom bind pose. Again, it's the same thing as earlier. I just put it in two different places because I figured you might actually be using it more over here. Okay, so that's skin weight tools. You can hide selection of something that's selected. You can show selection of something that's hidden. Let's see. Where is my mesh? There it is. There's my mesh. And so you just select it and go show selection. And it's back. Okay, add bones to skin cluster. You saw that. Like I said, it's in two different places simply because I figured here you'd just be able to tear this one off and just have this open. That's if you're doing interactive skin bind. Export selection you saw already. Auto mesh resizing is a new feature. and this will help you to resize your mesh clothing. And so I'm going to, this only works for non-rigged mesh. So you would save your skin weights or detach with history. Most likely you would save your skin weights of your mesh clothing, or you would do your resizes. This is for creating the 5 standard sizes or creating a custom fitting mesh clothing. And so I'm going to delete history and freeze transformation on this mesh top so I can show you. Okay, it is always best to do your auto resizing on the meter size avatar, and this does the same thing as making a meter size avatar up here by clicking here. Then you just want to make your mesh clothing 100 times bigger. So we're going to go bigger. If yours was centered to the center point like that, and you need to move the center point, and you need to snap it to the grid. I'm going to go snap to grid. Hold down the D key or the insert key and middle mouse button to move that point down to there. Now we can come over here to the channel box and change these to 100, and now your mesh clothing will have been resized 100 times bigger to fit the large avatar. Okay, now you could do a freeze transformation at this point if you want to, but you don't have to. Especially, so now we come to the second part of, this is that auto resizing. With your mesh selected, you would click auto resizing, or if your mesh has too many vertices and Maya's crashing, you would select a portion of the vertices and then click auto resizing. Once it's going to create a wrap. Once the wrap is created, then you would hold shift key down and select the other vertices that you didn't have selected and click auto resizing, activate auto resizing again to create the second wrap, so that these two would have 2 different wraps. You don't have to cut your mesh into smaller pieces like I used to. I need to redo that video and show this much better way and faster way of doing that. But this is a fairly mild, or not mild, but not a lot of vertices on this. This is 2041 vertices. So it's fairly small, not overly, not really heavy. Some might say it is, but I've seen a lot of their mesh out there with a lot more vertices for a mesh top than that. So anyway, and I'm on a 10-year-old computer and Maya 8.0. So if my computer can handle making a wrap, yours should be able to. Let's see, so you click activate auto resizing, and now it opens up this window, and these are the different settings I use. Like I said, I'll go over this in a different video. I'm just showing you really quick the feature. You click create, and it just created a wrap. So, and you'll notice the skeleton, that this is that other avatar. This is a single solid avatar, one-piece avatar mesh. It is not rigged. It is not rigged. And I wanted to make sure that you knew that I wanted to make it a different color. And it had to be a single, for technical reasons, it had to be a solid piece instead of the standard 3 different sizes. 3 separate meshes, which is what this is. This is the traditional mesh that Linden Lab has. And these had to be this way in order to work with the blend shapes. And this had to be a single piece so that it worked evenly over all mesh clothing. That where the 2 meshes met, it didn't mess it up. Okay. And plus I wanted to make sure you knew you were in resize mode. Okay, so if you click on your mesh avatar and you go wireframe unshaded, you'll notice this turns a hot pink color, and the edges, and that tells you that this mesh is driving the shape of this. So now if we go to editing appearance and go to the sizes and you click large, boom, it just resized your mesh. And I go over these controls in detail in other videos. So this is just to show you really quickly. You can smooth your mesh over here once you have the avatar selected, and click 5 and hit enter, and you see the mesh got smoother. This is stuff that Linden Lab could have had Carl add to the mesh deformer. That would have fixed a lot of the issues that a lot of people were having. Couple extra little controls, and everything would have been fine. Okay, so and as we click on the different sizes, you'll notice that the mesh changes to the different shapes. And like I said, I go over all this in other videos, another video, and I go over all these different settings that you can play with to get the mesh looking really nice, so that you have to do either no or minimal manual adjustments of, of the vertices. Some of this is not actually poking through, it's just because the distance from the camera. Okay, if you want to do a custom size avatar, you just change the sliders. Say you have somebody who has really big breasts. Boom. Like I said, then you play with, you play with stuff like that. To change it. So like I said, that's how you make the custom shapes and sizes for your avatar mesh. Say I go through a whole nother video that goes through step by step, so that's why I'm just doing this very, very quickly. I think that's about it. I think we're down, or not down. I think we're done with this introductory video. Going through over these, like I said, all very, very quickly. And I think that's it. And so I'll see you in the next video, showing you how to do each of these step by steps. I'm going to do a video on which versions of Maya, what plugins that you have to use or can use, and what methods you can use and what methods you can't use, as far as the so I'll be going through all those and providing links to where you can download the different plugins and stuff. So I guess that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video.